Hi, team. Welcome to 10 Talks. Today's conversation is all about gut health and stress. How do they go together? Why are they affected? What do I do to really make sure that I'm honoring stress in a good way, the right amount of it, what's good, what's not so fabulous, and most important, what's it doing to my health? Dr. Hunter, thank you so much for being on our support team, being here to really coach us up as we take on the challenge of winning our gut health and also recognizing the power of stress.
Thank you so much. Great to be here again. It's really interesting when we think about the mind-body connection, right? We can't separate out stress in the mind from stress in the body. And we know that, we've talked about this before, the gut-brain axis, it's bidirectional. So if we're stressed out here, it's getting transmitted down to our gut and having negative impacts. And same if our gut is out of alignment, it can cause distress for our mind as well. And we've talked over and over again when things are kind of not where they need to be, it changes the makeup of the microbiome, that biodiversity, that well organized team. Being in high stress states tends to change the gut microbiome and reduce the biodiversity, pull out some bad actors. The good guys aren't as present. So, really working on managing our stress is an important tool in keeping that biodiversity intact. Also, the lining of the gut, as we've talked about, it's pretty thin, right? We want to keep it intact. We want a happy microbiome, making that good mucus layer. And stress can also affect the lining of the gut, really through some of our stress hormones and how often cortisol is being released, right? That has some negative impact on the gut. So, really, when we manage our stress, we can help preserve the microbiome in a way that's going to keep both sides of the table in alignment.
So, when we think about peak performance and really being able to be strong with our stress management, going to the gym and actually working out, we have to stress our body to have it grow and to get stronger. So, I really want to introduce that new thinking that not all stress is a bad stress. So, there is that stress of pushing ourselves to grow, stretching outside of our comfort zone. The difference between some anxiety because I'm growing versus just feeling anxiety. So immediately thinking anxiety means to stop. I shouldn't be doing this. I don't want to stress myself out. So let's talk about the cortisol. What's happening with stress? When is it good for us? How do we actually maximize it and make it go to work for us?
Yeah, that's a huge thing to call out because so Dr. Hansai, who actually coined the term stress as we think of it today, looking back on his career, he's like, I should have called it strain because stress is actually just when force is applied to a system. And strain is when you have so much force, the system starts to break down. So there is what we call eustress, which is positive stress. It's where we have growth and creativity and right, necessity is the mother of invention, right? If we weren't kind of challenged in our lives, we'd never really develop. So we need some stress. It's distress or strain, which is really like the constant daily interactions that grate upon us and really bring us down. That's what we want to try to minimize. Because when stress is always high, we're activating our sympathetic nervous system and we're living in survival mode, right? You're living in fight or flight when we have a lot of stress. And stress is inevitable, right? There's always going to be things that happen. It's really how we use the stress, right? We can use it to move us forward, or if we don't really address it and we let it kind of build, or we let every little thing get under our skin, that's when it really becomes distress and it can lead to chronic inflammation, right? Chronic disease, mental health issues, trouble in the microbiome.
So, as much as this sounds fabulous, and we would love to recognize that no stress is a good thing, and it's really important to set our guts up to be able to be healthy and strong, Stress is a part of our daily life, and it is something we don't always have control over. We can be having a great day and somebody messes with our schedule, or your boss comes in and tells you to do something. And I really want to own that power of managing it in a way and making it work for us. So when we have stress appear for us, what do we do in a way that we're honoring our brain and our gut?
Yeah, one way that we can help manage stress is actually by practicing stress reducing techniques before the stress happens. It's just like doing your cardio or going to the gym and building some muscles. The more we can incorporate a little bit of self care, a little bit of journaling, a little bit of meditation throughout our daily lives, then we're actually better set up, more resilient, if you will, to maintain a more positive or neutral attitude when the stressors of life do come up. So it's really about finding the things that help you cope with stress. It's very individual. Some people hate journaling, and for other people, that's a huge tool. But really identifying, can I build some sort of daily practice that allows me to come out of fight or flight and into that other side of our nervous system, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and relax nervous system. So it's just like building a muscle. We can build in a better sense of ease and peace by having some of these stress reduction strategies. And it's things like taking a few minutes to do some deep breathing every day. It's a practice, right? Um, Yoga, meditation, gratitude journaling. Gratitude is actually a really positive tool when we think about stress management because you can't actually be anxious, stressed, mad at somebody, resentful when you actually feel grateful at the same time. And the more we kind of can shift our focus to gratitude, or if you have a practice of gratitude, you're more likely to kind of have an expanded horizon of all the other good things in life versus this tunnel focus on the negative things. And our brains are trained to see the negative, right? That's a survival tool. We didn't notice the dark storm clouds or, that sort of thing. It impacts our ability to live. So we have to really be intentional about our focus on the positive, about focusing on that rest and relax, because we really were built for survival. And it's easy for us to stay in fight or flight if we're not kind of adding these things in on a daily basis.
So, what I'm wanting to be intentional about is that our day is not designed to be perfectly peaceful or totally in control. Like I want us to really receive and go for the challenge of stretching ourselves and getting along with challenging people. I don't want everything to be about I need to get rid of everything because it's stressful for me. I do really like the component of building resilience and being able to have tools and have rituals and routines that when I'm at work and I get stressed out, take a joy break, insert joy, go for a walk, be able to have a good conversation. It isn't about removing ourselves, it's about empowering ourselves that we can put ourselves through stress and we actually know how to do it in a way that builds us up and makes us stronger rather than taking us out of the game. If everything is about the attention is on our anxiety or on the stress level that we're having, guess what? The focus is about that, and that's what's going to grow. We want to recognize this. We're here to empower you with what's happening to your body and your mind and your gut when these things are happening. And most importantly, once we bring your awareness to the fact of what's going on inside your body, the next thing is you inserting the tool or the practice that is about equipping your body with the way to be able to handle this. Keep thinking about, I am committed to getting stronger every day, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, from a gratitude perspective. I'm going to do reps every single day versus, oh, I can't do that, or I don't want to take a trip. It stresses me out, or I don't want to, go out, or I don't want to. It's not about the don'ts in life. It's so much about the do. And we're committed to you really owning how do I do this in a way that is for me and really empowers me to grow every moment with all of my choices. So, Dr. Hunter, when we think about the cortisol that is released when we're feeling stress and what it does to our gut, it starts in our mind and then we're able to have that transaction happen. What's a winning strategy when we feel that starting to happen?
Yeah, I think it's really what you said, Carlette. It's the awareness, right? If you start noticing your heart rate getting higher, or if you notice that tightness in your chest or that clenching in the pit of your stomach, when you can be aware of kind of your warning flags, like I'm going into fight or flight, that's when we get to make the choice, right? So you have the awareness, I'm about to enter a stress state. And then your choice is, what do I do about it? Right. So Dr. Sai also said it's not stress that, has the big impact. It's our reaction to it. So if you can notice the feeling, right? You've got to figure out, where do I feel stress in my body? When you notice the feeling, then you get the choice to say, okay, gosh, I'm really getting worried about this meeting, or like my boss is really ticking me off. I'm going to take a deep breath. I don't have to enter the room right now, or I'm going to leave the building and take a walk, like you suggested, right? You get to say, I'm going to pause. We're going to call a timeout, right? And let's regroup. And maybe it's just, 3 deep breaths before you move forward, right? And so when we can have that little mini break and have a moment for clarity, then you can that's when you get to choose the reaction, right? Otherwise, it's just the train is on the track and you're running with it. So it is kind of getting that mental checklist of, gosh, when I really feel like I'm about to lose it, what does that feel like in my body? And when I can notice it and stop at that point, then I'm empowered to make the choice about, how do I want to react to this stress?
And physiologically, what's happening when we start thinking those thoughts? So many times nothing has happened. We've just started dreaming it up. We've just started to, set ourselves up for, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. Or we replay something that wasn't so fabulous or a tough conversation. We are igniting that same feeling and we're putting our body through that stress when once we've already lived through it. What did we learn from it? Let it go, move on. What's happening from a cortisol perspective? What's it doing to our gut? And how do we set ourselves up to do something different?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your heart rate starts to elevate, your blood pressure climbs. You might be sweating in your palms, maybe you're breathing faster, and it's almost like you're getting ready to run that marathon, or run. It's our fight or flight nervous system, right? We're gearing up to either stand and fight or run away from the saber-toothed tiger. So it's all of those physiologic properties are happening so that you can perform to survive. And our poor brains just haven't adapted to the point that, like, you're not going to die from your boss yelling at you, right? It's just we haven't had a better way to address these stressful situations that now we're exposed to more and more often. And the cortisol level rises. It affects the gut. It can decrease that lining of the gut, which we know is so important. And it changes the makeup of the gut. Again, we've talked about the biodiversity and how important that is. One of the ways that the gut has a really important role in our stress levels is that most of the serotonin in our body is made in our gut. And it's made by very specific bacteria that get impacted when we're living in fight or flight all the time, right? That when we're not sleeping well, maybe we're not making the time for our physical activity, those good guys are getting kind of pushed down by the rest of the crowd, right? There's decreased bioavailability of those organisms. So, really, when we can create the practices, take the pause when you feel your heart starting to accelerate, it is about that daily mindset of, how do I set myself up for success today, right? What's my intention going into today? Peace and ease, or, I didn't even think about an intention. What? I'm supposed to have a thought process about that. So, when we can use those tools to really give ourselves a little space to enter the day in a different direction, you can let some of this stuff roll off, right? Or you have the bandwidth to notice the feelings and take the pause, use those tools, take the deep breaths, and kind of let it go, right?
So we talk about emotional eating and being able when we're stressed to reach for a food. What are the foods that really are good for our gut health for us to when we're feeling stressed, what do we reach for?
Yeah, if you can reach for things that are high fiber, you know, things that are gonna have some positive amino fatty acids. So like nuts are a great power tool to use when you want something that's gonna taste good, right? You feel like you're giving yourself a treat. That's gonna be a good one. Lots of protein, lots of fiber, healthy fats. You could think of that as your stress eating comfort food, right?
So give us
Um,
some examples on those. As soon as I'm stressed, what are some foods just to have handy so that I can reach for them?
I would say, have a trail mix on hand, some nuts, some dried fruit. Um, I like having a fruit bowl around all the time with different options so that I can reach for a color of the rainbow, right? Feed my gut. I would say make sure you're drinking water too. Sometimes we're just performing up here and we never kind of come up for a breath of air or a sip of water. So hydration can be something you reach for as well.
So we've got our emotional eating. We've now got that. We've got some winning strategies for that. Let's talk about our relationships and our support team. It's incredibly important that we have our people and we have a team of people that really are there for us to listen to, whatever position they play on our team. Are they the ones that give us advice? Are they the ones that cheer us on? What do they do? Most importantly, be very intentional about when you talk to someone, do they stress you out or do they actually strengthen you? You can really pay attention when you engage. Are you getting what you need to really set yourself up to be able to manage the stress of life and the growth that you're getting from the stress? To really be able to create a support team around you that is for you. They are for your gut health. They are for your brain health. They are for good choices. Everything about what you're talking about, what you're engaging in, it's stimulating you in a way that is for you and healthy versus getting you riled up or getting you angry or, gossiping in a way that gets you about something that you have no control over. So really want you to be as aware of the people that are in your life as you are the food you're putting in your mouth, the thoughts that you're having.
Yeah, exactly. We want to have that support network, that team that can really help us through the rough parts. And the interesting thing about healthy relationships is that just like the gut brain axis, we're talking back and forth in both directions. A healthy relationship, it's a give and take. Sometimes you go to your team member for support and sometimes you're the support person. So if it's one sided, right, those are the relationships that we can say, I'm just, gosh, I'm drained when I walk away from that person because I'm always having to give to them and I never get anything back. They always expect me to be there for them. So those are when we think about, uh, you know, our heart tribe, the people who really fill us up. We want it to be that healthy back and forth sharing, and it's okay to set boundaries with people who don't do that for you. Right? You get to choose who you let in and who you just take at an arm's length. Limit your time with people who don't fill you up.
And make sure you're a person that is on that support team in a positive way. Make sure that you're making the Heart Tribe team. Make sure that you're listening. You're not just dumping. You're not just the person that always is engaging in problems. Really bring that EQ, that emotional intelligence into your life to where you're thinking, do I like the foods that I eat that I'm eating? Are they making me feel healthy? Do I like the people that I'm hanging around with? Do I like me? Am I a person that I would even want to be hanging around with? Let's start with you and have you really pay attention. Are you adding stress to people's life? Are you actually being somebody that is there to help on a joy break? Really, let's start with that beginning of your awareness and who are you? Are you stressed? Are you taking the stress away? How are you responding? And are you being a person that you want to make the support team of the people that you care so much about?
Yeah, and I think when we think about our stress, it is having that awareness and kind of giving ourselves the stats of how am I doing? How often does stress come into my life? Am I having anxiety multiple times a week. So once you can kind of say, where am I 8, 9, and 10 on this? Then you can start looking at these strategies. Do I have a daily practice of stress reduction? Am I focusing on physical activity? Am I choosing the right foods? Am I getting enough sleep? Who am I, reaching out for when I need help and who am I supporting? Then you can really have a full picture of what your stress reduction package is going to look like and make it work for you.
So, team, it's up to you. Go out and actually determine on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed out am I? Why am I stressed out? Am I causing my own stress? What's going on in your life? And is your stress making you stronger? Is it good for you? And what are you doing in a way that's actually setting you up for great success for that stress management? Really recognizing the power of you and you being empowered to really be able to go out and own your days and your choices. Thank you so much for being on our team. It's an honor to be on your support team. And thank you, Dr. Hunter.
Thank you, Carla.